All right, welcome to another deep dive. We've got a ton of predictions about 2025 to unpack, and I gotta say, peeking into the future is always pretty fascinating.
It is. I'm really struck by how much of this is based on trends we're seeing right now.
Exactly. We're not just talking about, like, wild guesses here. This stuff feels like it has some real weight behind it. We've
Yeah.
got expert opinions, market trends, technological advancements, all pointing towards some potentially major shifts coming our way.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so interesting to analyze, right? Trying to connect those dots and see what picture emerges.
Exactly. Okay, so one thing that really caught my eye was all the buzz around Bitcoin. Like, I used to think it was this niche thing, but now it seems like everyone's talking about it. Even, get this, CFOs.
Yeah, that's a significant shift. We're seeing CFOs starting to view Bitcoin as a strategic asset, not just a speculative investment, but something that could have a real place in a company's treasury.
So why is that? What's driving this change of heart? I mean, I get that it's digital and all, but what makes it so appealing to these financial bigwigs?
Well, one of the biggest factors is inflation. It's been a major concern lately, and CFOs are looking for ways to hedge against it. Bitcoin, with its limited supply, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. That built-in scarcity makes it attractive as a potential store of value.
I see. So it's like a digital gold rush, kind of.
In a way, yeah, but it's more than just that. There's also this growing sense that Bitcoin and crypto in general is becoming more mainstream. You've got major companies investing in it, payment platforms integrating it. It's not this fringe thing anymore.
Okay, so I'm seeing some predictions that Bitcoin could hit like $100,000 by 2025. Is that even realistic? What could lead to such a massive jump?
Well, wider adoption is key. If we see more companies and even countries start holding Bitcoin as part of their reserves, that could really drive up demand.
So picture this. I walk into a bank and instead of asking about a savings account, I'm asking about my Bitcoin wallet.
Well, it's not that far-fetched. Some banks are already exploring cryptocurrency services. We might even see governments start experimenting with blockchain-based currencies.
Wow. Okay, that is definitely a future I wasn't quite picturing a few years ago. But speaking of advancements that could totally reshape how we work, what about AI? Like, with models like Claude 3 and GPT-5, it seems like we're on the verge of something really big.
Absolutely. What's fascinating is that we're seeing these AI models exhibit cognitive abilities that are mirroring advancements in human intelligence.
Okay, hold on. So for those of us who aren't like AI experts, what does that even mean?
Well, think about it this way. These AI models are no longer just good at very specific tasks, like playing chess or recognizing faces. They're starting to show an ability to learn and apply knowledge across a wider range of disciplines.
So it's not just about following instructions anymore, it's about actual learning.
Exactly. And that brings us closer to the idea of artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
AGI. Okay, break that down for me. What is that?
AGI is basically AI that can truly think and reason like a human. It wouldn't be limited to specific tasks, but could learn and adapt to new situations and solve problems creatively.
So like a robot that could write a symphony or, I don't know, design a skyscraper.
Potentially, yeah. The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing. But AGI development is still facing some major hurdles. For example, replicating common sense reasoning in AI is proving incredibly complex. We also don't fully understand consciousness, so creating AI that truly gets the world, like humans do, is still a big challenge.
So it's not just a matter of building a more powerful computer, it's about cracking the code of what it means to be intelligent.
Exactly. But even without full-fledged AGI, the advancements we're seeing in AI have huge implications. It could revolutionize industries, automate complex tasks, and lead to incredible breakthroughs in things like healthcare and scientific research.
That's the upside. But I imagine there are some potential downsides too, right? Like what about all the jobs that could be automated?
You're right, that's a valid concern. While AGI would likely create new jobs in fields like AI development and management, it would also inevitably lead to the automation of many existing roles, especially those involving repetitive tasks.
So it's not just blue-collar jobs that are at risk, it's white-collar jobs too.
Potentially, yes. And that raises questions about how we prepare the workforce for this changing landscape. How do we ensure people have the skills they need to thrive in a future where AI is playing an increasingly prominent role?
That's a huge question. And speaking of jobs that robots might be taking over, what about those incredibly lifelike robots being developed by companies like Boston Dynamics? I mean, they're not just doing backflips anymore. They're starting to look and move more like us.
It's amazing, isn't it? The progress in robotics has been remarkable. And by 2025, these humanoid robots are projected to be even more affordable and capable.
So you're saying there's a chance my future coworker could be a robot.
It's definitely within the realm of possibility. Imagine these robots assisting in healthcare settings, performing dangerous tasks, or even helping out with household chores.
Okay, so while increased efficiency sounds great, are we really ready for robots to become such a big part of our daily lives? What kind of impact could that have on society?
That's a big question, and there are no easy answers. On the one hand, these robots could free us from mundane tasks and improve our quality of life. But it also raises concerns about job displacement, privacy, and even the potential for these robots to be used in ways that could be harmful.
It's a lot to consider. And it seems like every technological advancement comes with its own set of trade-offs. What's important is that we have these conversations now before these technologies become so embedded in our lives that it's too late to course correct.
Absolutely. We need to think critically about the potential consequences, both positive and negative, and make sure we're developing these technologies in a way that aligns with our values.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about another technology that's poised to change how we get around. Self-driving cars.
Ah, yes, autonomous vehicles. That's a field that's advancing rapidly, and by 2025, we could see them becoming much more commonplace.
So picture this. I open up an app, summon a self-driving car, and it whisks me away to my destination. No traffic stress, no parking hassles. Sounds pretty utopian, right?
It does, but there are still some challenges to overcome. Safety is a major one. We need to be absolutely certain that these vehicles can navigate complex situations and make split-second decisions without putting passengers or pedestrians at risk.
That makes sense. And what about all the professional drivers? Truck drivers, taxi drivers, they could be out of a job.
That's a valid concern. The potential impact on the job market is something we need to address thoughtfully.
All right, so it seems like with every exciting new technology, there are also some tough questions we need to answer. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's one more mind-boggling prediction we need to talk about. Brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs.
Now, that's a truly transformative technology with the potential to change what it means to be human.
Okay, I gotta admit, this is the one that has me both excited and a little freaked out. We're talking about connecting our brains directly to computers, right?
Yeah.
Is that even possible today?
It is, and it's advancing rapidly. It is, and it's moving really fast.
Yeah.
Scientists are actually mapping the network of connections in our brains, creating these detailed connectomes.
Connectomes. Okay, you're gonna have to break that down for me.
Sure, it's basically like creating a roadmap of the brain, showing all the different connections and pathways. Think of it like a map of a city, but instead of streets and buildings, it's neurons and synapses.
Wow, that's incredible. So with this brain map, we can start to understand how our thoughts and memories are formed and even how to potentially manipulate them.
Exactly. And that opens up some amazing possibilities for things like memory enhancement, treating neurological disorders, even allowing people with paralysis to control prosthetic limbs with their thoughts.
Okay, so it's not just science fiction anymore. Like, what kind of real-world applications of BCIs can we expect to see in the next few years?
Well, some experts believe that by 2025, DCIs could be used to enhance our memory and learning abilities. Imagine being able to learn a new language or a complex skill just by downloading the information directly into your brain.
Well, that's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But it also raises some concerns, right? Like, what about accessibility? Will this technology only be available to the wealthy?
That's a very valid point. The potential for a digital divide is a serious concern. We need to make sure that this technology is developed and distributed ethically so it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
So let's say, hypothetically, that BCI technology does become widely available. What are some of the potential benefits beyond just faster learning?
The possibilities are pretty incredible. We could use DCIs to control prosthetic limbs, restore lost sensory function, or even communicate telepathically.
Wait, telepathy? Are you serious?
Yep, it sounds like science fiction, but researchers are already experimenting with BCIs that allow people to communicate directly with each other's brains.
That is wild. So we're not just talking about enhancing our existing abilities, we're talking about potential developing entirely new ones.
Exactly. BCIs could fundamentally change what it means to be human.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this technology is considered so transformative. But with such great potential, also comes great responsibility, right? What are some of the ethical considerations surrounding BCIs?
Well, privacy is a huge one. Imagine someone hacking into your BCI and accessing your private thoughts or memories. That's a scary thought, and it raises serious questions about data security and individual autonomy.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate invasion of privacy. What kind of safeguards can we put in place to prevent that from happening?
That's why it's crucial to establish clear ethical guidelines and regulations for BCI development and use. We need to ensure that this technology is developed responsibly, with protections in place for individual rights.
It seems like we're stepping into some seriously uncharted territory here. It's both exciting and a little terrifying to think about the implications.
Absolutely. BCIs have the potential to revolutionize our lives in countless ways, but we need to proceed with caution and make sure we're asking the tough questions now before it's too late.
All right, so we've talked about Bitcoin, AI, robots, self-driving cars, and now brain-computer interfaces. It's a lot to take in. It feels like 2025 is going to be a pivotal year with all these potentially disruptive technologies converging.
It is. We're on the cusp of a major societal shift, and it's hard to predict exactly how it will all play out.
So how do we prepare for a future that's changing so rapidly? What steps can we take today to make sure we're not left behind?
Well, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, but staying informed, being adaptable, and embracing lifelong learning are essential. The skills that are in demand today might be obsolete tomorrow, so we need to be constantly evolving and expanding our knowledge base.
So it's not just about what you know, it's about your ability to learn and adapt to new information.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the importance of creativity, empathy, and emotional intelligence. These are uniquely human qualities that will become even more valuable as technology takes over more routine tasks.
It makes sense. After all, it's our humanity that sets us apart. But speaking of pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human, let's circle back to those humanoid robots. All right, so we're back to those robots that are starting to look and act more and more human every day. It's wild to think that by 2025, we could be interacting with them regularly. But where does it stop?
Yeah.
Like, what happens when they become so advanced that we can't tell them apart from real people?
That's a question that's been around for ages, really, even before the tech got this sophisticated. It makes you think about, like, consciousness, sentience.
Mhm.
What does it actually mean to be human?
It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, right?
Yeah.
But I guess on a more practical level, how could these humanoid robots actually be used in everyday life?
Well, think about it. Robot assistants could help with chores around the house. They could provide companionship, maybe even assist with childcare. Or, they could be used in healthcare to help care for patients or in dangerous situations where it's too risky to send a human.
Okay, so it's not just about replacing jobs. It's about taking on roles that are tough or impossible for us. But let's say these robots get so advanced that they can, like, learn and adapt, even make decisions on their own. What kind of ethical stuff would we have to figure out?
That's where it gets really interesting. I mean, we'd have to consider things like robot rights, their legal status, maybe even if they develop a sense of self. There's a whole new set of ethical questions that we're barely scratching the surface of.
Wow, it feels like we're venturing into uncharted territory. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the predictions for 2025,
Mhm.
I'm curious, what do you think is the most significant trend we've talked about? What's the one thing that has the power to, like, completely change the world as we know it?
Ooh, that's a tough one. All of these technologies have the potential to disrupt industries and change how we live and work and connect with each other.
Yeah.
But I think the most significant thing is the convergence of these technologies. It's not just about AI or robots or Bitcoin on their own. It's about how they all intersect and influence each other.
You're right. It's not about looking at these trends in isolation. We need to understand how they'll all come together and shape the future, which will probably be way more complex than we can imagine right now.
Exactly. That's what makes this such a fascinating time to be alive. We're on the edge of a new era, and we have a chance to shape it in a way that benefits everyone.
Well said. To all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive into 2025 has sparked some ideas and given you plenty to think about.
Remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. We create it. So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep looking ahead.
And on that note, this concludes our deep dive. Thanks for joining us.